Hi, welcome back to Pine Tree State Restorations on the modern handgun Fluff and Buff. All right, so most of these new handguns today have a poly lower like this here, and of course, a steel upper. In the case of this gun, this is the Stoger STR9. Basically, a Glock clone, works just like a Glock, takes down like a Glock, but different style. I like it a little better because I like the trigger guard because it's more of a winter trigger guard with a glove. Also, the slide has a little more aggressive serrations on it. Um, I think it's just a little bit better gun. It's a little tiny bit thinner. It just holds the same amount as the Glock, but it's just built a little different, and I like that. But what we're going to talk about today is most of these modern guns you get today. They're going to have burrs and they're going to have rough spots on them that really, if you take care of them right away, will make your gun last longer. What I mean by that is inside here, okay, this ramp right here on the slide, sometimes they'll have burrs on it. You want to get that polished down, okay? In the case of, like, take some 5,000 grit super fine paper, hit that down, and then take a gray Scotch-Brite, maybe a piece of gray Scotch-Brite, and you're not going to remove any metal. You're just going to polish it so it's smoother. Look inside the slide in these rails for burrs that might be on the inside of the slide rails. Don't remove metal. Just knock down the burrs or the rough edges that are inside. I've already done this gun. Get down inside. There's a little edge right here. Sometimes they'll have some rough burrs. You want to get those out of there. Okay? Both sides. There'll be one edge here and one edge here. And on a really cheap gun, you might have some real rough end mill marks down in the very bottom. Being a machinist for 30 years, we call those tool marks. You don't want those really in there either, especially if they're rough. So you want to get that cleaned up. Anything like, say, this little slot right here, little takedown slot, there's a little burr in there or something, get that off. Now, what I mean by that is if you got a piece of metal that's physically dented, bent, or pushed out, and there's a burr that goes higher than that surface, you want to stone that off with a little stone or file and then polish everything. You don't really want a burr on there. On the inside of the gun, you'll have the same thing. Where the gun contacts on top, and the slide rides on these little ears. Okay, there's 4 of them. Here, 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 and here. That's all really that holds that slide on. A lot of times, there'll be a burr on top of this where the factory dented it or dinged it or something happened. Or there'll be a burr on the end of this. Okay? So you want to knock those burrs off. Everything needs to be as flat all the way along here like this. Okay? So what you're going to want to do is you'll take some of this 5,000 grit super fine paper and you'll lightly polish that, backed up by a little piece of gray Scotch-Brite pad to get all these edges on the end and on top, and sometimes there might be something underneath. Okay? Also, inside the gun, you'll see that disconnector there, right there. Sometimes there'll be a burr on that, take it off. Ejector might be a burr, take it off. You're going to want to remove any crappy burrs that are on there. The factory don't have time to do it. If they did all that, the gun would cost you $1 million. So you can see down in there where the slide rides down in there, right here. Okay, right down in there. You want to make sure there's nothing in that. On your mainspring, if it's plastic, don't worry about it. If it's metal, make sure there's no burrs on this one, like there was on this one. On the outside and on the face, you want to get those off, get them nice and clean. On the barrel, you don't want to really mess with that. I mean, there's a few things. The only thing I would do is the feed ramp right there. Okay. We're talking the feed ramp right here. You take some Scotch-Brite and you smooth that up like I've already done to this one. You don't need to get crazy. You don't need to get carried away. It doesn't need to look like chrome. You're just going to take a piece of Scotch-Brite, kind of bend it into a little half circle, and without damaging the profile or making it change, you're just going to polish the rough burrs off that so the bullet can go in better. When you put the gun together, it's very important that you use the right oil. Now, I use this here, this Liberty Products synthetic oil. I use that on the trigger mechanism. And then I blow it out with air and wipe it off. On the slide, the best stuff I've seen is the Lucas gun lubricant. I'll spray out, it's got a little bottle like this. I'll put several drops in the slide, and then I'll take a blowgun and I'll blow down the slide with it, and that'll blow all the oil right down that slide in the grooves, all evened up. And then I'll wipe off the excess, and that'll lubricate all the slide parts. I might put a couple drops of Lucas on those little ears, and that's it. Sometimes, or I did on this one, I put a little Lucas on the barrel, especially when it's new like this one. A couple drops of Lucas on this recoil spring and blow it off with air so it doesn't have a bunch of dripping oil all over it. And then put the gun back together. On this one, it's just like a Glock. The barrel goes in first, then the spring, and then you simply slide it back onto the gun until it clicks, and you're done. It's that simple. So this is what you want to do to these guns. Now, you could not do that and just shoot it out of the box. You will improve the life of the gun if you do this. It'll last longer. And on this lubrication, it's critical on these slide guns, semi-automatic guns, that you keep them clean and you keep them oiled, because every time that slide goes back and forth, you're wearing on the gun. Okay, so if you got it clean and you have it lubed, it'll last literally 2 or 3 lifetimes. But you have to clean them after you shoot, 100, 200 rounds. It's no big deal to take these apart and clean them and do what I just showed you. Now, you don't have to do the fluff and buff again. You only got to do that one time and you're done. What I use to clean these guns, I find the best thing there is WD-40. I'll use WD-40 in a toothbrush and blow it all out. WD-40 don't hurt anything. I think it actually helps the plastic. I don't think it's going to hurt nothing. It's very unaggressive cleaner. I don't like to use any of the aggressive stuff on these guns. So I use WD-40 to wash everything down, toothbrush, blow it all out with air. Once everything's dry, because WD-40 will dry. Once it's all dry, then I'll lubricate the trigger with the Liberty synthetic oil. It's a real light oil. Then I'll do the Lucas, and then I'll put the gun back together, and it's ready to go. Now, sometimes you'll have to clean your magazine. Here's the magazine for this gun. There's a button on the bottom. Push that button, slide that forward, and this will come apart, and you can clean the inside of the magazine with a swab or a patch and a little cleaning rod. Get in there and get all it clean. Clean the spring, clean the follower. You simply push it back in, slide this back on, and that'll snap back in that hole, and you're done. So this is the fluff and buff anyone can do on a modern half plastic handgun. These poly guns are very popular. They're literally everywhere. I've seen a lot of them destroyed by people not taking care of them. So take care of your gun and just, you know, if you don't want to take it apart and do the fluff and buff, that's fine, but at least take it apart and get some good lube in there so everything's okay because your life may depend on it. Thank you very much for watching Pine Tree State Restorations, and we will see you soon.